Ayanda. That's the main suspect. If you want to know where Joshlin is, you got to get Ayanda.
Gayton McKenzie, who it seems is like really heavily involved in trying to find this little girl.
Yeah, and he's a political figure in South Africa as well, so
Yeah.
very interesting to see how he got involved.
He says that he has information that has not been made public.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really stands out about this transcript.
Right.
He's claiming to have inside knowledge, and he's basically giving his account of what happened.
So we're going to go through this and see what he has to say and what we can learn about this case.
Yeah, and try to understand his perspective, too, right? Because he's coming at it from a very particular angle.
Right. He's not just like reading about this in the news. He's like on the ground there in South Africa.
Exactly.
And he was actually, in the thick of things from what it sounds like.
Yeah, he was there from the beginning.
Okay, so he's going to talk about his interactions with the police, with the mayor of this town, Saldanha, where it happened, the Democratic Alliance's role in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then also some of his theories about what actually happened to Joslin, where he thinks she is now. And then the really crazy part at the end, all these accusations of kidnapping and interference that have been made against him and his team.
Right. It's a lot to unpack.
So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
How did this guy, Gayton McKenzie, even get involved in this case?
Well, so he starts his story by saying that he was just having lunch one day, and he got this call from Vernon Fraser,
All right.
who is a DA counselor. And the connection is that Joslin's mother, Kelly Smith, is a member of Mackenzie's party, the Patriotic Alliance.
So right away, there's a political element to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, right from the get-go.
But then it gets even more interesting because he talks about meeting Joslin's mother, Kelly, and she right away calls him my president.
Yeah, I mean, that's a strong statement right there.
Yeah, and she says like right away that Black people in the squatter camp have her child.
Yeah, very specific accusation right from the start.
I mean, he even says in the transcript that he didn't really know how to take that.
Right, because he was expecting a grieving mother, but
it didn't quite line up in his mind.
Yeah, but he does acknowledge that, trauma can affect people in different ways.
Right, of course.
So it's not like he's immediately dismissing her, but it definitely plants a seed of doubt.
Right, and then he talks about how he starts supporting the community search efforts, even providing food for people.
Yeah, he's really taking an active role.
So, I mean, this is not just some politician who's like making statements from afar.
Mm-hmm.
He's really there with the people.
Right, getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like you said, Kelly, right away, she brings up race.
Uh-huh.
And that's something to keep in mind as we go through this, because it seems like that becomes a bigger part of Mackenzie's story later on.
Right, it definitely involves, and he picks up on that too.
Okay, so let's talk about the police investigation, because that's where things start to get really heated.
Okay.
McKenzie, he thinks that the police were not taking this seriously enough from the very beginning.
Yeah, he talks about a lack of urgency from the initial police contact.
And Kelly, her story starts changing.
Right. First she said it was Black people. Then she starts talking about Nigerians.
And McKenzie, like, he's obviously thinking what's going on here.
And then he finds out something really unsettling about the investigating officer.
What's that?
That they had been involved in another missing child case before, and in that case, the child ended up dying.
Oh, wow.
So obviously that's not a good look.
Right. I mean, if you're McKenzie, you're probably thinking, are these guys even competent?
Exactly. And, he's already feeling like the police aren't doing enough, and then he finds this out.
That's like a pattern.
Yeah, so his trust in the police is really starting to erode.
So what else is he seeing that's making him think the police aren't doing their job?
Well, he talks about there being very few police officers actually involved in the search.
Okay.
And he feels like there's no real coordinated effort, even though you have all these people from the community trying to help.
Right. He makes it sound like the community's doing most of the work.
Yeah. Yeah. They're following up on leads. They're going out searching in areas where they think something might have happened.
Okay, so you got the community really trying to find Joslin.
Huh?
But McKenzie thinks the police are not pulling their weight.
Right. And then it gets even worse because he mentions this letter that he claims came from the mayor of Saldanha.
Okay.
And this letter apparently says that the police have stopped the investigation.
What, after like a week?
Yeah, after only 6 days.
I mean, come on, that's ridiculous.
McKenzie is outraged. He says it's wrong, and he would never accept that.
Right. I mean, you can't just give up on a missing child after a few days.
Exactly. But he's claiming that that's what the mayor's saying happened.
So this is where McKenzie starts to think that it's not just incompetence. It's like something else is going on.
Yeah, like maybe they're trying to cover something up.
Okay, so he thinks the police are not doing their job. And now he's got this letter that seems to back that up.
Right. And to make matters even more confusing, he says that the provincial government actually offered to help with the investigation.
Oh, really? So it's like one part of the government saying we're done and the other part saying, hey, we'll help.
Right. And the provincial government is run by the DA.
Okay, so it's like a whole other layer of political stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's getting really messy.
Okay, so he already got all these doubts about the police, and then he shares this story that's just, it's almost unbelievable.
Oh, you're talking about the search dogs?
Yeah. So he's saying that he asked for search dogs at 3 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And he gets told that they can't wake the dogs up.
Yeah, the dogs are sleeping, and they can't wake the cops up to get the dogs.
It's like a bad joke.
Right, but McKenzie, he's saying this really happened.
I mean, if I were him, I'd be thinking the same thing. Like, these guys don't want to find this little girl.
Yeah, it's a really damning anecdote.
So we've got police incompetence, maybe a cover-up, and now he's going to talk about the political side of all this. So McKenzie, he actually says that his party, the PA, they stopped doing their regular work to focus on this case.
Oh, wow. So they put everything else on hold.
Yeah, and he starts getting attacked for getting involved.
Right. So people are criticizing him for this.
He mentions that at first everyone was working together, all the different political parties.
Yeah, but then it sounds like things got more divided as time went on.
And then he has this confrontation with the Minister of Police.
Becky Saleh.
Yeah, and Becky Saleh, he denies that the case was ever closed.
But McKenzie's got that letter from the mayor saying the opposite.
Right, so now it's like the Minister of Police is contradicting the mayor.
Yeah, and McKenzie is caught in the middle of all of this.
And then things get even scarier because he says the police started asking him about his protectors.
Meaning his security detail?
Right, and then they arrest members of his team.
And they take their guns.
I mean, that's a pretty clear message, right?
Yeah, it sounds like they were trying to intimidate him.
Like, back off or else.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about his interactions with Kelly and Buddha.
Okay.
He tries to build trust with Kelly. He takes her to a restaurant, gets her a new phone, gives her some money because he thinks she knows more than she's saying.
So he's trying to get information out of her?
Yeah, and he also notices that Kelly seems to be the one in charge in her relationship with Buddha.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and she's giving him these addresses to search based on new suspects she keeps coming up with.
So she's constantly changing her story.
And then this is one of the parts in the transcript that's just like really creepy.
Yeah.
McKenzie says that he saw Kelly coaching Buddha on how to cry.
Like before going to talk to the police or something?
Yeah, like teaching him how to act sad.
And he says one of his associates saw this too.
I mean, that's really messed up.
It's a very strange detail.
And then Kelly, she keeps acting weirdly like at a church concert for Joslin. She pretends to be weak, but then she starts dancing.
Okay, that's bizarre.
And McKenzie even arranges for Kelly and Buddha to stay in a hotel and pays for it himself. And then he gives the police their location. But the police say they can't find them.
Come on now.
Like, what is he even doing?
McKenzie's getting more and more suspicious of everyone at this point.
Right, it's like he doesn't know who to trust.
Okay, so then we get to what McKenzie calls the breakthrough.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
He talks about meeting this guy named Stefano, and he describes him using these prison terms.
Yeah, he calls him a scholar at the gates of the 26.
So basically what he means is that Stefano is someone who's connected to the prison gangs.
Okay, so this is not just some random guy off the street.
No, this is someone who knows things.
And McKenzie, he's making it clear that he's not talking to Stefano like the police would.
Right, it's a different kind of conversation.
So what does Stefano tell him?
He tells him that Joslin was sold.
Sold?
Yeah, and that someone named Ayanda bought her.
Okay, so now there's a whole new layer to this. Like, it's not just a kidnapping, it's like human trafficking.
Right. And McKenzie believes Stefano because of who he is and the way they're talking.
Like, he wouldn't lie in this situation.
Exactly.
So what happens next?
Well, McKenzie says he takes Stefano to the police.
Okay.
But they don't even consider him a suspect.
I mean, are you kidding me? They've got this guy who's telling them that Joslin was sold and they just ignore him.
Yeah, McKenzie is furious. He can't believe it.
And he also mentions that Kelly, she passed a lie detector test, but he doesn't buy it.
Yeah, he's still convinced she's hiding something.
And then he says something really strange about witchcraft.
Yeah, he says that some good cops told him about this.
It's like this case is getting weirder and weirder.
It's like something out of a movie.
Okay, so now we get to Ayanda, the guy who's supposedly bought Joslin.
Okay.
So Mackenzie's team, they find Ayanda and they take him to the police station.
And McKenzie says they did this to protect Ayanda.
From the community.
Yeah, because people were angry.
Right. But this is the part that gets McKenzie in trouble.
Because he gets accused of kidnapping Ayanda.
Yeah, that's like, wait a minute, you're saying I kidnapped the guy by taking him to the police station?
Right. McKenzie thinks it's ridiculous.
And then this guy, Rajan Allen, he's like the MEC of safety and security. He shows up really quickly.
Like he's rushing to get there.
Yeah. And he meets with Ayanda alone, and then he has a press conference.
And at the press conference, he calls Ayanda a good businessman.
And he announces that McKenzie is being investigated for kidnapping.
It's like, what's going on here?
Right. McKenzie's like, how does this guy Reagan Allen even know Ayanda?
And why is he defending him like this?
It's really suspicious.
Yeah.
And then McKenzie, he starts talking about how Ayanda got all this equipment for a car wash from the DA mayor.
Okay, so there was a connection there.
Yeah. And he says that Ayanda's car wash, it's in an area that's not even zoned for that kind of business.
So McKenzie's implying that there's some kind of corrupt deal going on.
Right. Like the mayor is helping Ayanda out for some reason.
And he even claims that there was intelligence suggesting that Ayanda shouldn't be arrested before the elections.
Because it would make him more popular?
Right. So it's like they're trying to protect him for political reasons.
Okay, so now we've got McKenzie's team being investigated. But McKenzie thinks the police should be focusing on Ayanda.
Right.
And to make things even worse, Ayanda's girlfriend gets released, but Kelly and Buddha are still in custody.
So they're being treated differently.
Yeah, and McKenzie, he's really sarcastic about the kidnapping charges against him.
He's like, yeah, I totally kidnapped the guy by bringing him to the police.
And then he talks about this police statement that says that Ayanda was assaulted. But McKenzie says that his team was with Ayanda the whole time. So how could he have been assaulted?
Right. It doesn't make sense.
It's like the police are trying to make up evidence against him.
Yeah. It's starting to feel like a conspiracy.
So finally we get to McKenzie's theories about what happened to Joslin.
Okay.
He thinks she was sold to rich people on the West Coast who were involved in drugs and politics.
So he thinks this goes way deeper than just a random kidnapping.
Yeah, he's saying there's a whole network involved.
But he keeps coming back to the mayor and Rajan Allen.
Right. He can't understand why the mayor would lie about the police stopping the investigation.
And he doesn't buy Rajan Allen's defense of Ayanda.
And then there's that coincidence with the mayor giving Ayanda all that equipment.
Right. It's all very suspicious.
McKenzie also thinks that someone messed with Joslin's stuff. Like maybe they switched her birth certificate. And there were 2 break-ins at her school where someone was trying to get her records.
So maybe they were planning to take her out of the country.
Yeah. McKenzie thinks that Kelly knows Joslin is safe and that she wasn't killed.
So he thinks Kelly is in on it somehow.
So what's McKenzie going to do now?
Well, he says he's waiting to be arrested.
He's not even going to try to run.
No, he's going to face this head on.
And he's not going to ask for bail.
He wants to go to court and call everyone as witnesses.
The mayor, Rajan Allen, the police officers, everyone.
He wants to expose the whole thing.
And he's going to sue for unlawful arrest.
He's not backing down at all.
And he still wants to talk to the minister of police because he thinks he's a good guy.
So he's still hoping that someone in the government will listen to him.
And get this. He says that while they were looking for Joslin, they found 2 other missing kids.
Oh, wow.
So now he thinks this is even bigger than just Joslin's case.
Like it's a whole pattern of children going missing.
Yeah. And he's determined to find out who bought Joslin because he thinks that will lead him to the other kids.
Not giving up.
And he mentions this other case, the Froen case.
Right. But we don't know much about that case from this transcript.
Yeah, but it sounds like he thinks it's similar to what happened to Joslin.
So it's like he's seeing a connection there.
So there you have it. That's Gayton McKenzie's story.
It's a lot to take in.
I mean, it's a wild story with so many twists and turns.
And a lot of serious accusations.
Right. He's accusing the police of incompetence. The mayor of lying, Rajan Allen, of protecting this guy, Ayanda.
And then there's this whole idea of child trafficking.
It's really disturbing.
And what's so striking is McKenzie's determination.
Yeah, he's willing to go to jail to get to the bottom of this.
And he seems convinced that he's right.
So what do we make of all of this?
Well, it's important to remember that this is just one side of the story.
Right. We're only hearing from Gayton McKenzie.
We don't know what the police have found or what other evidence is out there.
And we're not saying that everything McKenzie is saying is true.
Right. We're just trying to present his perspective based on this transcript.
But it definitely raises a lot of questions about how these missing children cases are handled.
Yeah. And about the possibility of corruption and cover-ups.
It makes you wonder how often this kind of thing happens and we never even hear about it.
It's a really unsettling thought.
So we've given you a lot to think about today.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
Hopefully this deep dive has helped you understand this complex case a little better.
And we encourage you to keep learning about this case and to think critically about all the different perspectives involved.
Exactly. Don't just take our word for it or Mackenzie's word for it. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
And if you find any other interesting source material on this case, please send it our way.
We'd love to do another deep dive on this.
Yeah, this is a case that deserves our attention,
Yeah.
and we need to keep the pressure on to find out what happened to Joslin.
And to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other children.
Absolutely.
So until next time, stay curious and stay informed.
And keep those tips coming.
We appreciate you listening.
Thanks for joining us.